Hey folks, and welcome to Truck King. Today we have an interesting video because we have gathered together a V8 powered Ford F-150 and a V8 gas powered Ford F-250, and they almost cost the exact same. So in this video, we're going to explore all the reasons why you might choose an HD over a half ton and vice versa. Let's explore the specific trucks that we have here today. First, the F-250. So this is the F-250 XL with the STX appearance package. This is a base truck that gets that one package to bring along some styling and a bit of comfort. But yes, this is a base Super Duty, which also means it's powered by the 6.8 liter naturally aspirated V8. Of course, you can get that big turbo diesel in here, but we don't have that today, just an NA V8. Now, looking at our F-150, well, luckily for this comparison, we also have a naturally aspirated V8. Of course, this is just the 5 liter here in the F-150, but that's what makes this really compelling is no turbochargers here today at all, just gas V8s, and both of them now send their power through a 10-speed automatic. Now on the F-150 on the trim, this is a mid-trim model, so it's an XLT, but then they've added the 75th anniversary package, which is why you're getting the two-tone color scheme, the different wheels, and again, some of the styling stuff. And then when you get that on XLT, you have to get the XLT High package, which brings along the larger screen and the better seats and all kinds of stuff inside. So this truck has tons of options on it. This truck has some options on it, but still, the price tags on both of these trucks come out to right around $80,000 Canadian, which once again makes this comparison really interesting. We're gonna go tow that trailer and then discuss the fuel economy first and foremost on both of these V8s, but then what's the difference towing a trailer with the big truck versus a small truck? Is it really worth it? And are you really giving up anything going for the bigger truck? These are all questions we're going to explore right now. And now, folks, the test begins. So we're starting off here in the F-250, and this is a brand new engine. So we already did a review on the channel, and we saw loads of comments from people wondering what the fuel economy is on this new big V8. So I think that's one of the main driving reasons why we came out here today to do this test. So what we're doing is we're running roughly 60 kilometers with our 7,000-pound trailer on the back. And then we're going to swap it off the 250 and we're going to put it on an F-150, fit with the 5 liter V8, and we'll run the identical loop, so then we'll be able to also compare V8 to V8 fuel economy. So that's going to be interesting. But then more interesting, I think, than fuel economy, Dad, is just, what's the difference between an F-250 and an F-150? At what point should you think about stepping up? And, at what point do you say that truck is too much for me? So that's the other thing we want to talk about today, and that's why we're towing the same trailer with both of these trucks. So F-250 here, tow rating just a little bit over 14,000 pounds. And I think all of that has now been kind of laid out, Dad. I would turn it over to you and just say, what do you feel towing with this F-250? And you've also towed a side-by-side and that big lumber trailer, so we've had a couple things behind the truck now. I think you have a good feel for it.
An F-250 is built to tow. So, we're talking about suspension and a frame which is very much designed to haul heavy loads. And 7,000 pounds behind this truck is almost unnoticeable. So that's the first thing. And one of the things that I've said previously that kind of bothers me is that in the world of half tons, as far as marketing is concerned, each one of the manufacturers has a tendency to really push these big numbers and say, oh, you've got a half ton, yeah, you can tow 12,000 pounds, 11,500 pounds.
14,000 the F-150 maxes out at now.
Yeah,
14,000.
I can't even deal with that number because it's not a question of being able to move the load. This is what people don't get. Any engine can move a load. It may be very slow. Okay. However, can the frame, the suspension, and very importantly, the brakes handle the load? So that's one of the reasons too that we're doing the 7,000 here. We're going to do the 7,000 on the F-150 because we're very interested in the fuel economy, but I'm also interested in feeling the differences between the two.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And honestly, that's probably already enough for the F-250, because once we get in the F-150, we can truly compare the driving differences. So yeah, why don't we switch out of the trucks now, and we'll talk about the differences, and then finally report back on the fuel economy.
Let's quickly take a look at the business end on both of these trucks. And here on the F-150, there's loads of features, and then we'll go look at the F-250 and see what it has. But on the 150, you're getting this tailgate step here, which is awesome. Really, truly an easy way to get in and out of your bed if you're loading stuff in and out. On the tailgate itself, we get the ruler now. Maybe you're cutting lumber. You get these little cutouts here for pencils and your phone and nuts and bolts. Even tie downs on the tailgate. This is really smart. Nobody thought of this before, but for things like ATVs or even, again, long wood that comes out onto the gate, you can actually tie it down there. Now, in the bed, we're getting the box link system here. So these are removable cleats. You can replace those with a number of different things. And then maybe the coolest feature, Pro Power Onboard. This is 2 kilowatts of power back here at the rear driver's side of the F-150. That's a great feature. Plus, see if I can find the button. Bam! LED lights as well, and there's a physical button there to light them up. Now, the other thing I have to point out here on our F-150, this is just the 5.5-foot bed, so it is just a little shorty. And I think that's about it here. Let's roll next door to the F-250, and you're gonna quickly realize they're really similar. For 2023, Super Duty was updated, and they brought along just about every one of those features from the F-150. So tailgate step, you're getting the ruler along the edge. The cutouts here aren't quite as good, but they are still here if you wanted to put a pencil or something down, nuts and bolts, they'll actually be held in there. We get box link, same as that. We get the LED lights over here. I can't find the button, there it is. So same there. Now this bed on our Super Duty is 6'9" so it is significantly longer than the other bed. And I'll get a shot of it because I don't want to have to walk around, but Pro Power Onboard on this truck is on the passenger side. No idea why one would be driver and one would be passenger, but there you go. You now can get Pro Power on your HD. And quite frankly, for the HD segment, I think Pro Power Onboard might actually be more important. And now there is actually two features, I will say, that the Super Duty has that the F-150 doesn't have. The first one is the step up here on the side of the bed, so I can get in here and reach my junk. And then the second one is the bumper step. Of course, General Motors kind of made this famous, but now everyone's ripping it off. Ford has done a great job. That step is there, it's always ready. You can even use that handle, and you're up and in. So I really like that they combined their tailgate step with the bumper step. A lot of really smart little features that are gonna make a big difference on the back end of Ford pickups.
And now we've made the swap, and here we are in the F-150 running the identical loop. Dad's still driving, so we kept that consistent as well. And we've got our 7,000-pound trailer on the back. So we'll get to how the both trucks are handling the weight, but the other number I want to get out there right now is the price. You know, basically for 80 grand, you now have a choice. For the same money, are you going to get that truck or this truck? And there's a lot of different things that go into that choice, but let me kick it to you now, Dad, just to start talking about what are the differences from behind the wheel with the same trailer on F-150 to F-250.
Softer suspension. It feels floatier.
This truck, the F-150.
This truck, the F-150. It's fine in terms of what it's doing. I mean, it's only 7,000 pounds, which is still, that's a decent load for an F-150. But there is definitely a different feel in this truck, and the feel really is that right now it's at a happy weight. Another 2,000 pounds, it might be unhappy. Whereas over with the F-250, that 7,000 was almost imperceptible.
Sure. So do you feel like in this truck you are just doing more to drive straight down the road? More steering input, more of everything?
No, I wouldn't say that because that wouldn't be fair. What I am saying though is that I can feel that the suspension, you know, is set up differently, and so therefore it's being worked way harder here than it does over the F-250.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. And then how about V8 to V8? Because this 5-liter, it makes the exact same horsepower as the other truck, and now it's down on torque, granted, but still, for considering that you're going from half-ton to 3/4, you're almost getting the same power. So what did you feel out of the power plants?
The key difference really is torque and where the torque curve kicks in, and that goes definitely, you know, in favor of the 6.8. And you know, because like you say, the power is similar. There's plenty of power in both. However, again, I'm thinking about a towing scenario. So I want to be able to get up off the line. I also want to be able to accelerate uphill if I'm in that situation. And that's where the torque in the 6.8 is preferable.
Sure, got it. Now another thing I'll point out is payload. So in the F-250, it's a little bit over 3,000 pounds, so no issue there. But here in our F-150, we're just a little bit over 1,500 pounds of payload. And again, here on the channel, we usually test top trim trucks that are loaded with features. So we always get low payload numbers, 1,200 pounds, 1,100 pounds. Those are pretty common. Here on our XLT, and granted it's loaded with a bunch of options, but even still, we have just over 1,500 pounds of payload. And I'm telling you that because a lot of the times, just Dad and I in here in the trailer, we're over. Today we're not over.
We're overweight, and the police are looking for us.
We'll probably have 200 to 300 pounds to play with still as the rig sits here today. So I think I'm telling you guys this just to reiterate that fact that if you want some of the hardest working trucks on the market, don't go to the top trim levels, come here to the mid trims, and you'll get a little more out of your payload.
Sure, and you know, let's throw this in your right way. It matters what you want to do with your truck.
Sure.
Okay, if you don't tow and you don't care, then don't even look at the F-250.
Yeah.
All right, because the other thing too is that the price similarity is that there's way less content in the F-250.
Yes, that has to be
way
pointed
more
out.
content in the F-150, particularly electronics.
Yeah, 12-inch screen, big sunroof, powered rear glass, onboard scales.
All kinds of doodads.
Yeah, we get tons of content. You're absolutely right. So you are getting an F-150 that feels a little bit nicer than that F-250. Although I will say, Dad, and this is kind of a recent thing, I'd say in the last decade, the F-250 driving empty is also fine. Like I have no issues with the way that truck drives. HDs, you used to really suffer driving them empty and just commuting. That's also kind of gone away. So for the guy who wants that capability, I also wouldn't worry that the F-250 is going to be too stiff and uncomfortable unloaded.
No, there's a perceptible difference.
Yeah.
However, it won't beat the hell out of you.
Yeah, like they used to.
Yeah.
There's another aspect of these trucks I think is worth pointing out because I noticed it today, you know, glaringly, and that is the safety chain hookups on both of these trucks. Now, the F-250 has been redesigned for 2023, the whole Super Duty lineup has, and they pointed out, they went out of their way to point out that they made these big, easy to access safety chain hookups, and they absolutely did. They truly are almost behind the bumper, so they're easy to get to, and they're huge. And honestly, Dad, we tow so many different trailers. I have had the experience where you just get a different kind of safety chain, and for some reason it won't quite fit in some of the smaller holes and hookups we've had. So I appreciate that on the 250. And yet here on the 150, it's buried underneath the bumper, at least kind of 6 inches back, so you really have to either get down on your knees or lean over and look under. And then same thing, there are these smaller openings and they're kind of angled in, which I don't get. Sure, the chains fit, but it's just annoying, and it's just like it feels like the person who designed it on the F-150 doesn't tow trailers. That's all it is, because anyone who tows all the time, you don't want to be digging down in there.
Has never had to kneel down in the mud to try and find a friggin' opening on it.
So, you know, call it a little thing if you want, but I appreciate the fact that on the 250, it seems like they really paid attention to that, and then all we can hope is that in the near future, that migrates down to the smaller truck.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah. So we're coming pretty close to the end of our loop in the F-150, so very soon we will reveal the fuel economy to you guys. But one other thing I think is worth discussing when it comes to fuel economy and towing is the gear ratio, your rear end axle ratio. Now here on the F-150, there's a number of different rear ends available, and if you don't know, the whole idea with your rear end is basically how the engine power is translated to the ground. What's the ratio? So the smaller numeric number will result in better fuel economy and worse torque to the ground. The larger numeric number will result in worse fuel economy, but more torque to the ground. So that's really what you have to decide. Do you want something like a 373, which is an option here on this truck, which is going to be worse fuel economy, better power, or do you want the 331, which is going to be worse power, better fuel economy? So that's another choice, and it's really only in the world of pickup trucks do we ever talk about this. Every vehicle on the road have an axle ratio, of course, but pickup trucks is the only vehicles where you get to choose it generally, and where these conversations come up. So
well, and just to add the one thing in which you're considering to be obvious, if the tow rating changes based on which rear end you get.
Absolutely, and that's it. Sometimes that's the only difference. The truck doesn't have to change anything but the rear end, and your tow rating can change significantly. And I can show you some of those numbers right here so you understand, yeah, if you want that higher rating, all you got to do is check one box for the 373 over the 331, and you can get thousands of pounds of more towing because the power is then there. And the reason it's like that, we can get even deeper here, Dad, is because of J2807. That is the Society of Automotive Engineers standard for testing towing. So they go down to Davis Dam and they have a whole bunch of parameters they have to hit, and when you do go for that smaller axle ratio, they can't keep up the speeds that are required on Davis Dam. So that's what it comes down to, is it really does make a real difference which rear end you get as to your fuel economy and your towing. And it's just something that honestly, even here on our channel, we don't bring it up, I think, enough, because it's an important consideration when you're buying a truck.
Yeah, and then if you really want to get into the weeds, the simple fact is that this truck, or pardon me, our F-250 can tow 14,000 pounds with one rear end, change out a rear end, and you can go 17,000 pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
So, does that mean that you changed anything on the truck? No. Frame, suspension, axles, it's all the same. Just the gearing in the rear end affects that much weight.
Well, folks, we're back from our fuel economy runs now, and we are coming to the end of this one. But first, we have to talk about those MPG numbers. So, on our F-150, towing that trailer, and I did say Dad did all the driving, and we were in tow haul mode with both trucks. We tried to be as consistent as possible. Over here, we managed 15.1 liters per 100 kilometers. Talking about the F-250, we did 17.5 liters per 100 kilometers on that identical route. So what have we proven here today? Well, first of all, I want to say, I think now more than ever, these price crossovers between segments happen all the time. So you could be spending the same amount of money on two different size trucks. So you have to ask yourself, what do you need and how are you going to use your truck? If you go for the half ton, the capability is decent, but it's not over the top. What you're getting here are all the interior features and creature comforts. Whereas over here, you're losing some of that interior stuff, but I mean, you're getting double the payload, a much higher tow rating, and then just a more confident feel while you're out there on the road. So I'm not going to declare a winner. This one all comes down to, what do you need from your truck? So please go in the comments, let me know which one of these two you would pick and what you do with your truck. And as always, while you are down below, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member of Truck King, and then come right back here to the channel to see what we're testing next. See ya.